Since the beginning of the day, 82 combat clashes have already been recorded on the front line. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the enemy is most active in the Pokrovsk, Toretsk, and also Novopavlivka directions. More details about the situation on the front line in our report.
Ukrainian soldiers shot down 362 Russian drones in a single day. As the soldiers note, even though Russian drones equipped with artificial intelligence have appeared on the front, drones that can independently search for targets and recognize objects, this does not prevent the defenders from shooting them down. The soldiers also closely track and destroy the enemy's logistics, particularly fuel and ammunition depots. The soldiers point out that logistics play a key role in war, so detecting such enemy targets is the main objective of aerial reconnaissance.
Everything starts with reconnaissance. Reconnaissance locates and identifies targets and then passes on the coordinates for strikes. The pilot found the target and relayed it to the command post. The command post has already decided what to use to destroy the target, and the drone operator simply adjusts the artillery or FPV accordingly.
According to the Ukrainian General Staff, the highest number of Russian assaults, 28, occurred. Ukrainian soldiers repelled them in the Pokrovsk direction. However, the armed forces of Ukraine are not only holding the defense steadfastly, but also carrying out counterattacks. And not only in the Pokrovsk direction, but also in other sectors of the front. In particular, in the southern Slobozansky sector. They advanced with fewer troops.
We advance with fewer troops against a larger force and achieve success. This is achieved through clear organization, good reconnaissance, maneuvering, and fighting spirit.
Military experts also note the successes of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Dobropillya area.
Today, Ukraine can employ such tools on the battlefield as counterattacks. And we see that today in Dobropillya, this is a counteroffensive operation by the Ukrainian armed forces. There should also be superiority in artillery shells, in any case, to support the advancing troops. That is why this counterattack toolkit was used in the Sumy region. It was used in the Vovchansk direction as well. It has also been used today, as I already mentioned, in the Dobropillya direction. Accordingly, and in principle, such counterattacking actions are taking place in all directions.
13 Russian attacks were repelled in the Toretsk and Novopavlivka directions, 7 in the Lyman direction, 5 each in the Huliaipol and Orikhiv directions, and 3 assault actions by the occupying army were stopped in the Siversk, Kupiansk, as well as the North Slobozanska and Kursk sectors of the front. The destruction of one of the Russian attacks in the Kursk region was posted online by the soldiers, who noted that with a precise artillery shot, they eliminated several Russian servicemen at once.
The successful actions of the defense forces in Ukraine, both in the Pokrovsk and the Upavlivka directions, blocked the plans of the Russian Federation's military leadership. Let me emphasize once again, these are not just military plans. This is about an attempt to create a so-called buffer zone already within the territory of Dnipropetrovsk region. This is something the occupiers failed to achieve in the Sumy and Kharkiv directions. They suffered colossal losses.
Russia lost 970 soldiers over the past day. The total losses of the Russian army since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine have already exceeded 1,107,000 military personnel. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the defense forces destroyed 39 artillery systems, a tank, an MLRS, an air defense system, as well as more than 90 units of Russian vehicles and special equipment yesterday.
Russia must understand that if it threatens Kiev with blackouts, then it too could be plunged into darkness. President Volodymyr Zelensky stated this during a conversation with journalists. He emphasized that Ukraine will respond to Russian attacks on its energy sector and also made it clear that US President Donald Trump is fully on Kyiv's side in this matter. In addition, Zelensky said that Israel has delivered a Patriot air defense system to Ukraine and it has been protecting Ukrainian skies for a month already. 2 more systems will arrive in the near future. The president did not specify who the supplier would be. Zelensky also proposed exporting the weapons that Ukraine's military industry produces in surplus and using that money to purchase weapons that are in short supply.
Where we can produce more and the Ukrainian army doesn't need it, we can export the surplus. We need to know the number of countries. We should have this list. And the money from this export can then be spent on drones that are in short supply. There are various types of drones that are in short supply. And you know about the shortages we have. These include both interceptors and long-range drones. In other words, to use the money from exports for what we lack.
Volodymyr Zelensky also reported that Ukraine has given US President Donald Trump a list of weapons worth $90 billion. He also noted that in October, a Ukrainian delegation will travel to the United States for technical meetings regarding arms purchases. The head of the Ukrainian state also commented on media reports about a request to Donald Trump to provide Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles. Kristina Dombrovskaya will tell us more.
Ukraine has conveyed all its wishes and requests regarding weaponry to U.S. President Donald Trump as part of a major arms deal, Volodymyr Zelensky stated. As for the long-range Tomahawk missiles, he did not specify any details.
Ukraine would use different weapons if the country had them, specifically not strikes, but responses. As for what Ukraine wants from the United States, all of that has been communicated. We have provided the US President with detailed information and illustrations of what Ukraine wants. And all of this, in principle, is provided for in our large $90 billion agreement. But we are ready for a separate type of weapon, including long-range ones. I can't share any more details. It's a very sensitive issue.
According to the British newspaper The Telegraph, during a meeting with Donald Trump at the UN General Assembly in New York, Volodymyr Zelensky allegedly requested Tomahawk missiles. Later, in an interview with Axios, the head of the Ukrainian state said that he had asked the US president for a new weapons system that would force Putin to start negotiations, but did not specify which one. According to Volodymyr Zelensky, Donald Trump responded to this request by saying, "We will work on it." Already on September 27th, the president of Ukraine announced a visit of the Ukrainian delegation to the United States, headed by Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko in October, to hold technical meetings on the purchase of weapons.
We discussed the main issues and agreed on them with President Trump. Now we are moving on to practical implementation. We had an agreement to purchase the appropriate weapons in the US through various programs. We discussed, in addition to the major arms deal, which we call the mega deal for purchasing weapons from the United States, there is also a deal for drones, and technical teams are beginning to work on this deal. These are our drones, which will be purchased directly by the US.
American media have reported that the White House administration is considering the possibility of providing Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk missiles. The US president himself, after meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky, for the first time expressed optimism about Ukraine's chances of regaining control over its territory within its internationally recognized borders.
I am watching what Russia is doing and how it is behaving. I am very dissatisfied with what Russia is doing and what Putin is doing. I really don't like it at all. He is killing people for no reason whatsoever, and they are acting very badly, considering they've put everything on the line. Their economy is going to hell. They are bombing everything indiscriminately and capturing very little territory, if any at all. In fact, they are actually losing some territory. So I think this is having a very negative impact on Russia's reputation. This war should have ended.
According to Reuters, in September the United States resumed supplying weapons from its own arsenals to Ukraine. As part of a new financial agreement with NATO countries, two $500 million packages have already been approved. In July, the Washington Post reported that the head of the White House was considering the possibility of transferring Tomahawk missiles to Kyiv, but they were not included in the final list of weapons for Ukraine. Nevertheless, the American newspaper did not rule out that the U.S. might provide long-range weapons later. In the event that Donald Trump decides to increase pressure on Russia. Kristina Dombrovskaya for Freedom TV channel.
And now to other important events of the day. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha showed a map with the exact route of the drone's incursion from Hungary. This was his response to statements by Hungarian officials denying Budapest's involvement in the incident. Let me remind you, on September 26th, a drone entered Ukrainian airspace from the direction of Hungary, penetrating almost 40 kilometers. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the UAV was detected twice in the Zakarpattia region at different altitudes. There has been no explanation from official Budapest so far.
For the blind Hungarian officials, here is the exact route of yesterday's drone incursion from Hungary into Ukrainian airspace. Our armed forces have gathered all the necessary evidence, and we are still waiting for an explanation from Hungary as to what this object was doing in our airspace. Andriy Sybiha, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, on the social network X.
Provocations in the airspace of NATO countries continue. In Sweden, two unidentified drones were spotted circling above the country's main naval base. This was reported by local media. The police went to the scene of the incident. According to them, the drones resemble those previously spotted over Denmark and Norway. None of the drones were shot down. Swedish law enforcement classified the incident as a violation of aviation law. The German Ministry of the Interior has called not to underestimate the drone threat from Russia. The head of the department noted that he is surprised by the constant attempts of right-wing forces in the Bundestag, particularly the Alternative for Germany party, to downplay the significance of Russian threats. According to the minister, drone swarms were detected in the north of the country the day before. And this is a serious threat as the drone flights are connected to espionage.
We are observing a constant hybrid threat. This involves sabotage and espionage. In the past few days, everyone has heard about the increased use of drones over certain areas of Germany. Neighboring countries have also reported an increase in drone usage with varying degrees of effectiveness. We are witnessing an arms race between the threat posed by drones and the means to defend against them. We must prepare for this, for a race that we cannot afford to lose. And that is precisely why we need to modernize our technologies.
NATO's response to violations of alliance airspace by Russian aircraft and drones will be tougher, warned Admiral Giuseppe Cavodragone, chairman of the NATO Military Committee. Today in Riga, the alliance chiefs of staff gathered to discuss Russia's provocations. Dragone drew an analogy and recalled historical events at the start of World War II. In September 1939, Soviet bombers and reconnaissance planes violated the airspace of the Baltic states, calling it the first sign of Moscow's determination to impose its will.
We are meeting at a historic moment. Russia's brutal military aggression against Ukraine continues to rage. New technologies are changing the very nature of war, and the rules-based international order that has preserved our peace is facing a direct and deliberate challenge. As the Latvians say, those who are prepared will never be caught off guard. And Latvia knows what that means.
In Latvia, it was proposed to combat Russian drones using Ukraine's methods. The country's president, Edgars Rinkēvičs, called on NATO to turn the patrolling of Baltic airspace into a mission for countering air defense. He made this statement in Riga at a meeting of the alliance's military committee. The Latvian leader also emphasized that the best way to protect NATO countries is deterrence, but it must be effective. According to him, increasing defense spending is a challenge for every state, but Latvia will soon be ready to allocate 5% of its GDP to defense.
From our point of view, the assessment of the threat is clear. Russia poses a long-term threat to Euro-Atlantic security. Terrorism remains a constant threat. Europe and the alliance are facing all kinds of challenges. Therefore, the task is to prepare our forces for the threats and challenges of today and tomorrow. Russia continues a series of provocations, in particular recently recklessly violating the airspace of Poland and Estonia.